This video will have spoilers for Undead Unluck chapter 207. If you're not caught up, come back later when you have. So, this chapter was a decent bit of what I was expecting, especially in the main start and middle-ish section. But that ending section, that ending bit, those final few pages, was something I'd hoped for. And I think I'd mentioned in the past in one of my TikToks of something I would have loved to see. And the fact that we're getting it, it's made me really happy and just proves to show that Tezuka is an amazing writer. But first, let's get into the recap of the chapter. So the chapter starts off with Fuko coming over from after doing a journey and catching up with Nico and being informed of what happened during the unforgettable Uma language art. She confirms with Nico her grasps of souls, and Nico confirms his grasps of souls and how they interact with negation abilities in such a way that it may be able to fundamentally change how they work, with being able to get rid of limitations such as self-targeting and external targeting and just make them essentially limitless. Maybe we'll get into that. And then the middle section is just a lot of confirmation as to who's going to be going where and doing what. We have Feng fucking off saying, I'll teach Shen about souls because it will be a good training park. That and Focus goes, I bet you can also take Moi, Yusai, Creed, no, not Creed, Void, maybe Creed as well. I can't remember exactly who she said, but she's going to be throwing a bunch of the fighters at him to learn souls, whether he likes it or not. As for the final three negators that we seem to be focusing on, even though there's fourth and kind of a fifth, but the three that we're focusing on, we know who's going to be going to them, at least the main people. We have Nico going to Tatiana because he'll be making her sphere and could potentially give it a soul upgrade. I would like to see how that works. We have Ichiko going over to Bax because, honestly, I'm not sure why Ichiko's going to Bax. I know she's got great soul manipulation, but all of them do. I'm so intrigued as to what Ichiko's going to be doing with Bax. And then Fuko gets told she's going to see Sadako after some, honestly, understandable pushback from Fuko, because sending Unluck to an idol festival where an idol's going to activate their negation that forces people to bum rush them, not the best place to put Unluck, of all things. Understandable from Fuko. But then Nico just stands up and goes, no, you have to go. As I've learned from my past loop, if you can meet someone, you must. And he drops the bombshell that Fuko's mother is going to be there as a performing idol, and that we will get to meet Fuko's mother, and that's where the chapter ends off. So, I'm fairly sure I mentioned ages ago in one of my TikToks that I would love to see how Fuko looping interacts with what her personal life used to be, and we kind of have a little bit of a grasp of it with Julia, and with how souls are destined to be reincarnated into their same body. And with Julia, she was a unique example, as Shree's never had a previous one. So Julia's reincarnation was giving, basically, Julia's the most unique person in this world. But I'd always wanted to see how it would work with Fuko, because at the time we didn't know about Shree, so I was wondering how it would be, because, would Shree's take Fuko's place? One, we obviously know she didn't, but, now that we know that Shree's came from a world where she didn't have parents, everything, there's no need to understand how that worked. But with Fuko, she didn't. She came from the 100th loop. So I've always been curious to see what happened to Fuko's previous life. What happened to Fuko's parents? Is there a second Fuko Izumo out there? We obviously know there isn't because of the confirmation of souls, and that everyone's souls already exist and they will come into the sword, so there can't be a second Fuko. That still left the question of, what about her parents? Do they have a different child? Actually, no, thinking about it, they wouldn't have a different child because of destined souls being born and everything, so they probably just don't have a child. But we're going to learn that. We're going to meet Fuko's mother and her father. We're going to learn their names, because we don't actually have names for them yet, but we're going to get to meet the parents. And that's so exciting. I was not expecting that. I thought it was going to be one of them things of just, it's a question you always have, just what would happen? But it's such complicated and something Tezuka might not have touched on, because it's having to figure out so much stuff in how it works. But Tezuka, the amazing writer that he is, has just gone, no, I know how it works, and I know that Fuko meeting her mother in this situation would be an amazing bit of story writing. And the fact that it's going to be even a Kuroda with Sadako in the Unchased arc. That's an inspired choice to make Fuko's mother an idol, or maybe even if it changed so that, because Fuko mentions that her mother did mention in the previous loop that she was a fan of music. So it might be that in the previous loop she wanted to be an idol but couldn't because of having Fuko. There's so many possibilities, and the fact that we're doing this, it makes me so happy, because I know a lot of people wanted to know what's happened with Fuko's parents now that she is looped, and the fact that we are getting to see what happened. I have a feeling this upcoming arc with Sadako, Unchased, the Idol Festival, and Fuko's mother, it may be one of my favourite arcs of the series, because, oh my god, it's such an amazing choice to do this. It's gotten me so excited, but at the same time, I'm dreading it, because I fully expect my heart to be broken and hurt and in pain from Fuko having to meet her mum and dad and see how happy they are having lived longer than they did in the previous loops. I'm not looking forward to it. I'm really not, but I'm so excited for it. If I don't shed a tear during this arc, it's a fumble. This is one of the things where you know it's going to be a good arc when you're dreading to see the negatives of it, and that's why you're excited to see the whole arc. It's going to be amazing, and I do fully expect it to be one of my top 5 arcs of the series. That's how much faith I have in Tezuka as a writer and this arc coming up. It's you know it's good when I've spent multiple minutes talking about it, and it was like, what, 6 1/3 of a page of setting up Fuko to go there, which is a decent amount, but that's only like, what, a third of the chapter at most. This arc's gonna be amazing, and I'm looking forward to it. Now, as to the other things that happened in this chapter, because this wasn't the whole chapter, it was a third of it. Going on to Nico and Ichigo going on to Tatiana and Bax respectively, I do hope we get to see them. I don't think they're going to get as much focus in limelight as the Sadako Idol Festival Fuko's mum arc, where I think it's going to be the Unchased arc, we'll call it. I don't think the Untouchable and Unbax arc are going to get as much focus in the Unchased arc, but I hope they get focus. I do hope they get multiple chapters of time to them, and I hope it isn't just Nico and Ichigo going to there. As for Bax, I really hope Rip, Lala, and Lila go over to Bax, because they were so close to it in the previous loop with Under and Bax sort of having a sisterly relationship with Lala and Rip. So I do hope we get them three going alongside Ichigo to help Bax, just because of that prior connection. And with Tatiana, you know I want Billy there, okay? During Undead Unluck Week, I mentioned how Billy and Tatiana's adoptive father, adoptive daughter relationship in the 100th loop is one of my favourite like pairings of Undead Unluck. It's a platonic relationship, but it's still like their familial dynamic. It hit me hard in the previous loop as someone who wishes to be a parent in the future. And while I know Tatiana's going to have her parents, I still hope to have Billy there just for the reunion, even if it's like not the same people. I don't know if it's going to be the case. Also, Billy does have his daughter still, because it was never focused on. It was kind of in the background, but Billy's wife and daughter are still alive in this loop, and they have time traveled with them. So Billy's going to have both his daughters this time around. Yeah, so I hope with the Untouchable and Unbax arc we're about to get coming forward, I hope that they do have spotlight put on them. I hope they are at minimum like 4 or 5 chapters each, but the Unchased arc I do expect to be the longest out of the 3. As for Feng's people, who did Fuko specifically put on Feng? Because she put a few people on him. Moi, Void, and Yusai. Yeah, just the hand-to-hand combatants, the, brawly people. I do hope we get to see that as well. I don't expect to see that. However, I really want to, because I love Yusai. I love her so much. She's baby girl, she mommy, I hope to get to see Yusai. I want to see more of her, especially because I'm on the same boat as everyone of just, I feel like Yusai and Feng would be a funny couple. It would be funny. I would love to see it. So yeah, there's a lot of arcs set up in this one chapter actually. Oh my god, there's a training arc, there's 2 retrieval arcs, and there's a retrieval and depression arc set up. So I'm looking forward to seeing all of them. I do expect Unchased to get the main focus because arc, but I hope all 4 of them get focus. And it would be nice to have more arcs where Fuko's not that around, because this was the first real arc where we didn't have either of our main protagonists. In the previous loop, we had multiple arcs where it was just one of them, and since the 101st loop started, we haven't had the other protagonist. But having more arcs of not the protagonist, I like stuff like that. I like when that happens, and I would love to see more of it. Plus, it'd be great to get an actual training arc, because there's been multiple times where we could have had one and haven't. I do hope we get this one, just because I want to see what Tasuka's going to do with souls. Getting to see not just an negation side of it, although I would love to see how that's going to play forward. I'll get to that in a second, because that's how this chapter started. But I would love to see the more aggro manipulation side of souls, of just, we see Feng do a fucking blast. He did a whole ass Kamehameha. Like, we saw him boost his defense to be able to tank a blast with his soul. I would love to see what other things we can do. We've seen it with picture here with Rip of him making a soul blade. I want to see more of the soul manipulation and what kind of stuff they can do from the astral projection. So I do hope we get to see that training arc. As for the start of this chapter with Fuko coming down, first of all, as always, Fuko's reactions are always funny. They're just funny. It's a great time to see them every time. I enjoy Fuko's just expressions. Sasuke's really great with just these wacky expressions. But as for what we learned about the soul manipulation in this chapter, oh my god, soul manipulation feels like an awakening. You know how My Hero Academia have Quirk Awakenings, One Piece you have Devil Fruit Awakenings. I guess with JJK and close thing you have is like maximum techniques and the domain expansions, but they're fundamentally a little bit different. But soul manipulation feels like the power up, like boosted state, the kind of awakening to negations. And I just love that, because it's not just power up, it's a no, there's this whole separate thing that you have to be able to perceive, manifest, and be able to manipulate, and it will allow you to fundamentally alter the way your abilities interact. Because as Nico's shown here, with Unforgettable, if he weren't able to manipulate his soul, he would be fucking dead. All memories of every single fucking loop. I don't know if it's just his memories. I think it might be either that, or it's just all memories of everything that has ever happened in every loop. And if that's the case, that's fucking busted. Good lord. But as he's shown here, his self-targeting Unforgettable, he was able to have it not be himself, as we saw last chapter with him being able to have the Unforgettable soul touch into Ichiko and give her memories, which means he absolutely can do an unlimited void on motherfuckers. But the way he's able to store memories outside of his body to stop his brain from being crushed and being able to keep the memories he got before the manifestation of Unforgettable is already insane. He's able to just live a normal life and not have that crushing rage that he had in the previous loop. And as he says, they may be able to go around this sort of self-targeting, external targeting thing. And oh my god, the fucking callback to Sean of all people, with him being able to put unseen on other people. I completely didn't think about that, but he did make his self-targeting an external targeting as well. Yes, he had to touch people and make himself visible at the same time, so he was expanding it to kind of still be self-targeting. No, he's just fully made it external targeting, which means he might be the first person to have grasped. He didn't fully grasp souls, unless... Okay, I just looked at chapter 149. It doesn't look like he had undergone a soul awakening. I don't think he had manifested his soul back then. So it looks like Phil is still the first one to have unlocked souls. Because as someone pointed out, you can see Phil have that soul glowy eyes after he gets in Truster, which is such an amazing details and shows that Tasuga's had this plan for a minute. Sean showed us negation abilities can break the limitation of self-targeting and external targeting, and possibly even breaking the limitations of compulsory and voluntary activations to, mostly compulsory to make them all voluntary activations, which, if that's the case, oh my fucking god, this is going to be huge. I think the person that's the biggest for, other than Andy, it's going to be Tatiana, because of, compulsory activation of Untouchable. If she's able to make it voluntary activation, oh my god. Also, Billy, that will be huge for, because as we learn in his character profile in volume 13 or 14, I can't fully remember, we do learn that the negations that he copies, if they're compulsory activation, they're a compulsory activation for him, and if they're voluntary activation, they're voluntary activation for him. So if he's able to use soul manipulation to make compulsory activations into essentially voluntary, or even pick and choose which negations he has copied at a time. Because his is basically a compulsory activation of, if he acknowledges the strength of the person who he's copying, he will always have that thing copied. Billy's actually going to be able to pick and choose which negations he has at a time. I'm kind of expecting the gag of him registering Tatiana's strength and then his clothes blowing up from untouchable, and it's like, oh, let's just store that array. I can use that at some other point. Yeah, that might be a gag that happens at some point. We might see Naked Billy. Peak. Oh my god, I'm just thinking, if they can make compulsory into voluntary activations, Rip can be a doctor again. There is so much. Oh my god, the fact that soul manipulation is able... I don't even have confirmation of this. We just know that self-targeting and external targeting can be changed. Oh my god, I'm not even thinking about that, because that in of itself is fucking huge. Like, I'm trying to think of self-talk. Top can give unstoppable to other people. Could Billy give unfair to other people? Oh my god, the limit on what you can do with soul manipulation now is fucking insane. God, Tasuka, you are a mad lad. You are fucking mad lad, Tasuka. That one line of being able to break the limits of self-targeting and external targeting is fucking big. I am so intrigued as to what the Tasuka, you are a madman. This one chapter has introduced so fucking much. It is set up one proper major arc and 3 other arcs. It is set up just so much potential bullshit of how the power system can grow and evolve and change over what's to come. And oh my fucking god. Also, I haven't even touched on the fact that Feng and Ichiko fucking died. I completely missed the fact that they shouldn't have had their negations. We see with Ichiko that she went, look, I'm getting resurrected soon, so I'll keep mine. I don't want to burden people. Plus, you know, I want to retwin it for my husband, you know? We don't get any confirmation with Feng. I doubt he gave up Unfade. However, the odds are never zero, and if he did give up Unfade, that's fucking gonna be a major moment I expect to see during the training arc. That would be a major character development moment. Man, that ship review side actually kind of makes more sense now, because if he did give up on Faye, you know, them two wanting in air to pass on the training thing together, it's, oh fuck. Wait, if he's given up on Faye, that's perfect setup for them as a couple. Oh god, okay. Oh, shippers are gonna love that. This is an insane chapter. This chapter has done so much setup for the future. Fucking hell. I want a chapter that doesn't fundamentally change the series and sets up so much bullshit. Please, Tasuka, give me a fucking rest. It's too much. You're cooking too much. I'm getting gluttonous here. To stop myself from rambling on too much, my predictions for what's to come next, I do think the first arc we're going to be seeing is the Sadako arc. I think that's what we'll be focusing on first, with all of the depression that's to come with Fuko meeting her parents. What's to happen with Sadako? Because on page 6 and 7, you see the 2-page panel of, like, once again talking about take out 2 master tools and also deal with God. With that touching moment of Nico going like, yeah, and I'll fight alongside you this time. Nico was amazing in this chapter. Oh my god. Look at Sadako here. What does she look like? She's a bit built and dressed for fighting. I keep joking to myself that Sadako's going to get a power up. People joke about her being useless because she done nothing in the previous loop, and the one time she used her negation, it didn't work. This is perfect setup for her to get a major power boost. Oh my god, she could give Unchased onto other people to force them to get bum rushed. Oh god, Sadako's going to get a power boost. Oh god, Sadako's going to be a threat. Sadako could solo JJK. I do think the Unchased arc is going to be next. We're going to get Sadako, we're going to get an evolution, and possibly another change to how a negation works, like we did with Billy with Unchased. She's going to get a power up from Souls and actually going to be a competent fighter, it seems, from that one page. Then we're just going to have everything with Fuko's parents, which is going to hurt, and I cannot wait for. Final thoughts on this chapter. This chapter is fucking amazing. Like, the more I thought about it and the more I've talked about, I've realized this chapter does so much for the future of the series, with soul manipulations and how they can fundamentally change how negation works and just completely get rid of the categories system altogether for negations, which is fucking insane. We've got set up for 4 different potential fucking arcs. 1 that's definitely happening and 3 that I hope get focused on. And also it's just filled with so many great character moments. It's an amazing chapter. And honestly, I feel like this is going to end up being a sleeper chapter for a lot of people. Because, like, it's not part of an arc, really. It's one of them bridging chapters from one arc to another. So people might end up overlooking this as time goes on. But oh my god, this chapter feels like it's a very important one to the series. Not like groundbreaking, shattering revelations or anything. Oh no, that's kind of it with the soul reveal and Fuka's mum. But like, in the way of just like a lot of things we're going to be dealing with going forward all originate in this chapter. Fucking hell, this is such a good chapter. And I just, fuck, man, this might be one of my favorite chapters of the year. Could this end up? I don't know. I do plan to do a top 10 chapters of the year for this year. And fuck, this might end up being one of them. Because it's such a good one. Man, it's peak as always. And I cannot wait to see what's happening next week. So, until then, see ya.